Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on just a bunch of different DC news. And this is, I guess you could technically label this as the CinemaCon special in regards to the DC news, because pretty much everything we're talking about is stuff that came out from CinemaCon, whether it was like visual or just stuff that was said. There is one other thing which is not related to anything like, well, no, it's related to something that came out at CinemaCon, but it didn't come out at CinemaCon, if that makes sense. Actually, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. At least I think it does. But of course, throughout the video, let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and everything we go over. Always curious to where you guys are thinking. And of course, if you go on to enjoy the video, drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So yeah, as I said, CinemaCon, this is all the stuff from it, or most of it is from CinemaCon, or at least all of it is related to stuff that was referenced at CinemaCon. That hopefully happened yesterday from when this video comes out. Hopefully my scheduling works right and that happens. So yeah, I'm recording it like literally, what, 3 hours, I think, or 2.5 hours after the Warner Brothers CinemaCon panel sort of thing, which went for a while. It went for like 3 hours or something, which I understand because I show a lot of stuff. It's not just DC, it's like Warner Brothers' entire slate over the next, I guess 12 months, or roughly 12 months. That's what they showcased, and even some stuff beyond that 12 months, which is some of the stuff we'll talk about in this video. But the first thing that they talked about, which they sort of talked about in 2 different stages, because the thing was announced earlier, and then they sort of like came back to it. But Super/Man, or some people just calling it Superman, I'm not so sure, but Super/Man, the Christopher Reeve story, which is a documentary, will be released this coming September by Warner Brothers in theaters. So it's going to come out in theaters, and along with this, it will also serve as, just because of scheduling and everything like that, even though it wasn't initially produced and made by them, they just, they bought the rights to it. This will serve as the first official film under the DC Studios label in regards to when it's released. So in regards to an actual production and them making it, of course, that's going to be Superman and other movies and stuff like that going forward. But they did buy the rights to this, so it's still released through the DC Studios label. And I guess depending on the release date of Creature Commandos, because that's of course a TV show, this could be the first release as a whole for this new label of DC Studios. But we don't know when Creature Commandos is exactly coming out, but it's going to be coming out around that time. So it could come out in September, but a lot of people are expecting Creature Commandos in maybe October, November, but that's a wait and see. Now, I don't know if this has been clarified, because people were wondering at the time, and it's about, is it just an American thing? Is this USA only? Because it is a documentary. So that doesn't necessarily mean 100% will be released in theaters worldwide. I think this was, when they were referencing it, I think they were talking about US theaters. I am surprised it's even going to theaters. I thought they might have just chucked it up on HBO Max, because they probably would have got more views, initially through that. But I don't know, maybe, they wanted this to have that theatrical thing, and then maybe it's eligible for Oscars. I'm not too sure exactly how that process works, but yeah. And I did forget to mention that was purchased at through Sundance. So that film, or that documentary, premiered at Sundance, and then Warner Brothers, swooped in. I don't know if DC Studios were the one that did it, but I think, yeah, I'm not too sure exactly who bit the cherry first, and who, wanted it, if it was Warner Brothers specifically, or because we know James Gunn was interested in it. But I think maybe James Gunn, when Warner Brothers bought it, was then interested to then release it under DC Studios. That might have been how it worked. But speaking of James Gunn, he's the next thing to pop up. So we had Peter Safran, who came on stage, a bit after, like once they started getting into some of the DC stuff. And whilst he was on stage, we also had James Gunn appear on screen. There's no picture of that. There is something relating to Peter Safran, who was on screen. We have a picture of that, which I'll show in a second. But in regards to James Gunn, he's busy filming Superman, so he appeared on just a video link. I don't know if it was, actually, I think it was a pre-recorded video. But he did say that the Superman cast will be in attendance, next year at CinemaCon. It'd be weird if they were there this year. One, because they're filming, and two, the film's, still over a year away. But there's no surprise they're going to be there, as, most summer blockbusters and their casts, whether it's the whole cast or 1 or 2 people, whatever it might be, have a presence at CinemaCon in the lead up to their film, especially, as I said, if they're a summer blockbuster, which will be coming out in the next, 2 to 3 months or so after CinemaCon, and it's one of the bigger movies. We don't know if, I guess it matters, because it probably depends on the lead up, probably by this time next year, is Superman the biggest movie of the summer? Because Fantastic Four, I think, is coming out, is it a week or 2 before or something like that? And also, we don't know if there's another movie that might pop up around that point, so you don't know if Superman's gonna be the biggest. But I think from this point looking forward, it seems like it's going to be the biggest. So maybe that hype is worthy. I think he was saying it's going to be the summer of Superman. So, it's definitely putting it on a pedestal. We'll wait and see if that works. But as I said, Peter Safran was on stage, and there is this picture which Cinemark posted. And as you can see, we have the official logo for the film. So this, we'd seen the suit and everything, but this will be the logo that's used on like posters and I guess different promotional material and everything like that. It's not very surprising. It's just the red kingdom, or it's the kingdom come symbol without the black, and you replace it with yellow. Though in this picture it does look gold, but maybe it's just because of the photo. But I don't know, maybe making it gold makes it a bit better than just a straight up, canary yellow or something like that. So looks good to me, though it's what we expected. Nothing else was really said from memory, from my knowledge at the very least. It was just because we're so far away, and of course there is like something like Creature Commandos and Peacemaker coming out, but this is in regards to movies. This is about cinema owners and hence CinemaCon. So none of the TV stuff was mentioned, everything like that. And they, obviously none of the other movies were, because they're not coming out in the next year or just over a year, and won't be referenced. I don't think next CinemaCon you wouldn't have to think, but it depends on when they start filming stuff. But just one final thing regarding Superman, though it's not anything that came from CinemaCon. This is the sort of thing I was referencing before. But like a couple of days before, David Corenswet, who of course is playing Clark Kent or Superman in Superman, he went to a screening of one of his new movies that's coming out in Atlanta. And I think there was a bit of a Q&A, and I think someone just asked something about Superman. And he said the vibes of Superman, this film, are based on Superman for All Seasons and All-Star Superman, but the story is its own thing. So when he says the vibes, he sort of means like the tone, how the character acts, everything like that. And this isn't a surprise. James Gunn has pretty much said this, but James Gunn almost made it seem like the story was going to be based on this, but it seems like, the story is its own thing, and then the vibe is this thing, those two comics. I think probably the best way to look at it is that the story is more in line with Kingdom Come, but a bit of a twist there, and then the vibe is that. So it makes it not very Kingdom Come, because Kingdom Come's a bit down and a bit dark. And that was maybe a concern that people had for this movie, is they're going to be a bit dreary, because, that's all people didn't really want. They didn't want another, like, dark Superman movie. But it seems like it's going to be a very hopeful and bright one based off a dark storyline, but bit of a change of the tone there, if that makes sense. That seems like what it's going to be, but we're just basing off, like, one or two sentences here and there. So it's best for us to wait until we get a trailer. But I'm killing it with segues today. Speaking of trailers, we did get the first trailer for Joker 2, or JokerFolieADeux, as the French pronounce it. There had been like a teaser earlier in the day, but it was literally just to say, the trailer's coming at this time, which is smart, because then people get online, wait for it, it trends, or they're waiting on YouTube, whatever it is, so it gets the views up and everything like that. Now, this trailer, I wasn't too sure what to expect from people when they watched it, because I was like, what do people really expect from Joker 2? Are they expecting more of the same, or do they want something completely different? And to be honest, I think the trailer is a bit of both. I think like it has that look and feel and style of the first Joker, and it doesn't feel like you're hanging around with a different character. It still feels like you're hanging out with that character that we met in that film, especially the version of the character that we have in the final act and everything like that. But then, of course, it's got that musical element. Now, that was the one thing I was curious about, whether it was going to deter people. But the one thing the trailer didn't do explicitly was say, it's a musical. It just makes it seem like he's tripping out again and he's seeing things, which is clearly the case. There's multiple shots in the trailer where you're seeing, I guess, like what is normal, and then it's different. Like, there's an example where there's umbrella. He's walking in the rain, and like the different guards have umbrellas, and they're just like, gray, black umbrellas. And then he looks up and all of a sudden they're like red, blue, and yellow and green, or whatever it is. So there's cases of that. So it's another case of like, is this like not alternate reality, but he's saying things. But I was surprised they didn't make it explicitly clear that it's a musical. Like, you can tell it's a musical, but they didn't make it explicitly clear. It's not like you see him break into song and dance. There's just music and like little things like that. And, they're playing off like, different, musical elements with them on stage, and like the backdrops and everything like that. So maybe that's for like the second trailer, closer to, because this movie doesn't come out till is it the back half of October or something like that? So there's still a long way, 6 months? It's like 6 months essentially until this movie comes out. So when the second trailer drops, let's just say in like 3 or 4 months or something like that, maybe that's where they like hammer down on the musical elements and say like, this is a musical, and then maybe debut one of the original songs if there is one. I think there's meant to be like 2 or 3 or something like that, but most of the songs are just like already existing songs, like the one that's sung in the trailer. Now, for me, this doesn't necessarily deter me from seeing it because it's sort of what I was expecting, but what we got in the trailer doesn't necessarily blow my socks off either. And that's not a negative. It's just because it just seems like it's carrying on from the first one. You know, it's got the same cinematographer, it's got the same writers, it's got the same director, and of course it's got the same guy playing Joker. So there's not much difference there. So I enjoyed the first one. So nothing in the trailer is necessarily going to deter me from seeing this one because I like musicals as well. Unless it's a bad musical, but that's a wait and see. But yeah, I think the cinematography looks good and everything like that. It just didn't blow my socks off, but I think that's for like the second trailer, where, you know, in like 3 to 4 months or whatever, when they probably might have say, you know, show us that it's a musical and we get more of a feel of what the movie's really going to be like. The only thing is that, I don't know if this is an early theory or not. Well, actually, there was one complaint that people had that I saw a lot, that's that this doesn't feel like a authentic Harley Quinn. Like, oh, she shouldn't be already being an inmate and stuff, because that's what the trailer indicates. I'm like, well, it's not necessarily an authentic Joker either. Like, where's Batman? You know, where are all these characters? It's in an alternate, you know, Elseworlds universe where Batman doesn't exist, but these characters are existing. So, you know, you shouldn't necessarily expect a ridiculously faithful version of Harley Quinn, because this isn't also a ridiculously faithful version of Joker either. So, don't know why people were expecting one when you don't have the other to begin with. But the one thing is, I am wondering whether this Harley Quinn, like the Lady Gaga character, is just going to be a figment of his imagination the entire time. That's what I'm wondering. And maybe it's like I wonder if like the whole twist in the movie, it's probably not the case. Maybe this is just a weird theory that I'm going down, that she is a, you know, a psychiatrist or something, or a doctor in the or a therapist in the hospital, in Arkham Hospital. I don't know if it's, I think, is it Arkham Asylum at this point? I think it's just meant to still be the hospital like it was in the first one. And then he's just saying all the stuff, and then by the end of the movie she's like proper doctor and everything like that. Probably not the case. This is maybe just a weird theory, but obviously I'm just basing off the fact that he's still saying stuff like he was in the first one. But that's a wait and see, I guess. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. Good, drop a like and a show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and everything we went over in this video. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.